Hello, my name is Delaney Mora, and my paper will be on Baron Haussmann, the reorganization of Paris. Paris, which is known as the City of Love, has much history, beauty, art, and culture to its name, and Baron Haussmann was one who reorganized and modernized the city of Paris to what we see today. During the 19th century, hired by Napoleon III, Baron Georges Eugene Haussmann's plan was to reshape the city and give it a new urban renovation where there will be clean water, modern sewers, central markets, parks, schools, hospitals, asylums, prisons, and administrative buildings. With the many discouragements that came along with Haussmann throughout the years, there were many advantages and disadvantages that came through this traditional urban planning of Paris. Baron Haussmann started his project of Paris in the 19th century that lasted 17 years of construction with the demolition of almost 2,000 buildings. Inspired by London with its public parks and wide streets, Napoleon III was determined to transform the city, which at the time was full of crime, plague, bad sewers, and slums. In 1853, Napoleon made him prefect of the Seine, which he became the head of public policy. The prefect of the Seine acted both as head of the department and as municipal head of the city of Paris itself, two posts of immense influence and power. Haussmann worked with Napoleon for the reconstruction of the whole city. They followed three motives that helped approach the problem of planning. The first was the prevention of Parisians to descend to the streets and where military considerations counsels widespread change in geography. Second was reorganizing the medieval arrangements of highways within the city, focusing more on modernizing Paris. Finally, self-preservation, to make Paris into a capital city worthy of France, a capital provided with the light, beauty, and cleanliness essential to human dignity in cities. These motives brought a new modern city where it brought Paris to be reborn into the city of lights that we come to love till this day. The details and concerns that was put into this renewal of the city showed how much effort that was put into this traditional planning. Some disadvantages that occurred was the term Haussmannizer, created by those who detested Haussmann and his work, and they defined it as urban renewal by demolition. The Municipal Council of Paris feared that he will be less amenable and more explosive than his amiable crusaders. Even though Haussmann is celebrated by his work for the city, many did not agree with Haussmann's vision of creating a modern design for Paris, but instead saw it as a man who ripped up his home city. They saw his avenues as imperialist tools to neuter fermenting civil unrest in working class areas, allowing troops to be rapidly deployed to quell revolt. Haussmann was accused of social engineering by destroying the economically mixed areas where rich and poor rubbed shoulders, instead creating distinct, wealthy, and popular arrondissements. Critics also accused him of destroying the city's medieval treasures, citing the enduring charm of the narrow, winding streets of the Marais, the city's oldest district and one which escaped Haussmann's raising. Haussmann believed and was proud of what he has accomplished, but his accomplishment was destroying the city's medieval charm. There was so much backlash and criticism towards what he had accomplished that most was forgetting to admire the fact that this man was the first who ever accomplished a great reconstruction of a whole city. Even though he was hated towards the way he got rid of some of Paris' history throughout the reconstruction, some admirable aspects that was brought up was that he was the world's first modern urban developer. Haussmann showed Husman showed proof of what one dynamic individual can do to reshape the city, as our urban problems often seem insurmountable, especially through design. The city constructed has modulations of color, material, texture, and scale compared to other cities. There are some who have mixed responses of Husman's urbanism, which made it difficult for honoring him through this great work. Some great advantages that came from this new reconstruction of Paris will be the Impressionist movement. Paris was linked closely to Europe's leading center of artistic creations. It was in Paris that a group of mainly young painters came together between the later 1860s and the early 1870s with a view to developing a new approach to painting which would create a greater immediacy and realism than current fashionable art permitted. From 1874, they became known as the Impressionists. Many Impressionist artists took advantage of this new reorganized Paris and took it in as a whole new artistic view. The reconstruction of a traditional urban planning for the city is also what could have pushed the Impressionists' response to this modern environment. Some examples of famous Impressionist artists who took advantage of this new urban Paris will be French artist Gustave Caillebotte with his best-known work called Rainy Day in Paris in 1877, or Claude Oscar Monet with Boulevard des Capucines in 1873. What Haussmann and the Impressionists had in common was that both were acknowledged and self-aware modernists, and each created a new aesthetic which won worldwide acclaim. Even though not much of Impressionist paintings or drawings were made of Haussmannic streets, squares, and public buildings, they all had an influential look for the nature of the urban forms which associated with Haussmann. The reality of this new urban environment can be seen in many of the works produced by the French Impressionists during the mid-19th centuries. With this traditional way of thinking in urban planning, Haussmann shows that he took a great part of the Impressionist movement. And that is all on Haussmann. He reorganized Paris. And thank you very much.